Welcome back, Airbnb family. My name is Donnie. I work here with Sean Rakidzich's team, and we're here to bring you a brand new weekly show where we're going to be interviewing Airbnb hosts, and we're going to take you guys behind the scenes on the strategies, on the stories, and exactly how do people just like you start from zero to the point where they have built up businesses and they've automated to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars per year. This week, we have Josh Fletch. Incredible story. In a matter of just 16 months, this young man here has gone up to 15 units, and we're going to dig into the beginning, the middle, and to where he is now. So stay tuned and welcome our guest, Josh Fletch. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, really cool. When we first started this show, we had like a few names that we're going to bring up right away, and yours is one of the very first names you brought up. So you got to tell me what city you're from, and how about just a quick introduction about you?
Of course, yeah. The city I'm from, I live in the Poconos, so that's where I do all my rentals and everything. A little bit about myself. I'm 23 years old. I've been in the Poconos for I would say over 10 years now. I came from New York, so that's kind of like my background. Kind of where I'm from.
That's cool. What brought you over to the Poconos?
So we lived in New York. We didn't live in a very good area of New York. So growing up as a kid, it was kind of like a struggle for my family. We had like 2 bedrooms and like 6 people. So we came over to the Poconos, and it was quiet over here at the time. Now it's like a lot more dense, but it was quiet at the time, and it was just like good prices on houses. So yeah, we moved out here to the Poconos, and I thank goodness we did, because that's where I kind of got started.
Well, what's really interesting is we get a lot of people who are of all ages who come into our ecosystem. And what's interesting is you're quite young. So when you're 22 now, correct?
I'm 23 now.
23, but I think when you started, were you 21 or were you 22?
I was 21 when I started. When I signed my first lease, it was like the month of my birthday. So I was like 21 for like a few weeks when I started.
Perfect. So let's start from the beginning, and I can't wait to wrap this all in together here. So what got you started into Airbnb?
Yeah, so what got me started? I guess I can start from the beginning, right?
Please
So I
do.
started working at McDonald's 16 years old. That was my first job ever. I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that job. Of course, it was like stressful. It was like a really hard job, especially for the pay. But my boss, she taught me a lot of lessons without me even realizing at first, because when you're young, you're kind of like, hey, I hate my boss. She comes in, it's annoying, but as I grew up, I realized that she taught me discipline. She taught me to work hard no matter what, even though I'm getting $8 an hour, working 1 or 2 days a week, to come in and have that attitude. So she instilled that from me at a very young age. Then growing up 17 years old, I was doing the business or working at McDonald's, and I had like a side business going on. So I made a decent amount of money at that age. At the age of 18 is when I kind of got into some financial trouble. I bought my first car, and I overspent pretty much. I had like $400 to my name with a car insurance coming up, empty gas tank, phone bill, so I was like kind of in the whole, thank goodness I was only 18. I was still at my mom's house, right? But then at the age of 19 was when I first wanted to kind of get a legitimate business, and I started wholesaling, right? I didn't get any wholesaling leads at all. I worked really hard in that space, but I didn't get it. And then coming across wholesaling, I saw one of Sean's videos just about Airbnb and just getting started in short-term rentals. And I kind of shifted from wanting to wholesale, like this passion in wholesaling, and I kind of just put that in Airbnb. So like, that's how I found out about it. And I didn't get started to maybe about 2021. So the end of 2021 is how I
What's interesting about that? We get so many calls from people who started wholesaling at first. And so what was the biggest difference for you, that aha moment where you said, hey, you know what, I like this wholesaling thing, it sounds good, but I'm going to try this Airbnb instead?
So I guess the first thing with wholesaling is like so much time. It's just super time consuming. And then when I saw Airbnb, because I actually had some cash at the moment, and when I saw Airbnb that you can actually invest money into something, and the concept seems so simple, right? You go up to a landlord, you ask them, hey, can I do this, and throw it on Airbnb. And yeah, that's what kind of shifted me to want to do that. And then just watching all of Sean's videos, I realized like I have literally a blueprint right in front of me, kind of thing. So, that's what made me shift from wholesaling to Airbnb.
And I love that because you know what, you're such an exciting story because you actually started your first few units just from Sean's free content. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I got my first 2 units just off of watching his videos. He has some videos on like how to pitch landlords. So I just pretty much followed what he said, and it, definitely took a lot of phone calls. I definitely got some bad rejections, but it turned out, and ended up getting 2 units, and that got me started.
I don't want to breeze past this too fast because this is actually the hardest part where most people get stuck. I think most of the people who start in this business, they have no experience, no sales experience, no real estate experience, and no entrepreneurial experience. So what was it for you? What was it that those first few pitches, what was that like for you? And how did you ultimately get those first few deals?
Yeah, so my first few pitches, there was a lot of people hanging up on me. There was a lot of people kind of just literally laughing at me. And there's just obviously a lot of no's. And what I would do is I would take all those no's and I would just ask them like, hey, just curious, I know you said no, but like why? And they would tell me their objections. And then I would kind of prepare myself for the next landlord. I'd write that objection down, and I would prepare myself and how I could answer that objection. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I did, how I took it. I already started my business at this point, but there was one objection to that. It got me heated up. It got me like pumped up to actually accelerate my business. So I pitched the landlord and everything. Everything went well. The pitch went well. He agreed to it. And then right when we were actually about to sign the lease, printed out and everything, they asked for my ID to, I guess, like verify, how they do when sign leases. And then they saw I was 22 at the time. So they texted me. I was like, hey, the owner just saw that you're 22. And I said, yeah, I'm 22. So yeah, pretty much they objected me because of my age. They said I wasn't experienced enough. So yeah, that was one of the ones that hit hard for me. And that was before that I kind of just really started investing in growing my business. That was probably
How did that make you feel, that gut punch when you're right at the finish line and then they give you something very nonsensical? How did that make you feel?
Yeah, so at first I was actually really angry. I was super angry. I didn't like show any type of disrespect or anything, but I was just, super angry. It ultimately made me feel like at the end of the day, I just, there's nothing I could do about my age. I can control so many other things, nothing I could do about my age. So I didn't like beat myself up about it, but it definitely put a few batteries in my back. And it made me just want to grind even harder. Because I did speak to the landlord about it afterwards, and it was kind of like a dibble dabble, like he was saying how much money he made versus me, and I wasn't really trying to like go back and forth with that, but they really put a battery in my back, and it made me want to just do better than him, kind of, in a sense, but not even do better than what I was previously doing. So that's kind of what it did for me mentally.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Something else that usually comes up is a lot of people, they're afraid of their own hometown, mostly because they've grown up there. They think it's boring, especially if it's like a mid-level market town, right? It's not a Miami. It's not a New York. It's not an Atlanta. Poconos, not a very big place. So did you ever think about that? Like, hey, maybe my place is too small to start Airbnb?
So the reason why I thought Airbnb was good, because I actually saw on the news one day, I'm just home. I have no clue about Airbnb at this time. I'm maybe like 18, 19 years old. I didn't know anything about it. I saw on the news that they said, hey, the Poconos, Airbnb in the Poconos reached, I don't forget the amount, but X amount of dollars in revenue. And it was like a big like headline news for the Poconos. And when I saw that, I just stuck in my mind. And when I got into it, I was like, wait, I do remember seeing on the news about Airbnb. So that's why I kind of stayed here. I do definitely know what you mean though about people wanting to move out their hometown. I actually like it here. I don't mind it here. I like staying, I wouldn't mind staying here.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things we see that really stops people from ever even getting their first Airbnb is just overthinkers. They overthink it, they overanalyze, and then they just almost, psych themselves out of it. And so it's great for you to, just stay focused and just get the first one done and prove it to yourself.
Absolutely.
So at this point, you got your first 2 Airbnbs. How did those first 2 go?
So the first one went well because we kind of got them up like separate times. So we got one up in about 2-3 weeks. That one went super, like we actually just got rid of the lease a few like last week we got rid of the lease. Regulations kicked in, but the second one did not go so well. I didn't have the nicest landlord. There was some found like fundamental issues with the property that we couldn't rent it out. So I did end up losing some money on like the second one that we got up. It was just kind of like I was eager to get a deal and I didn't go through the property, look at everything, you know, flush toilets and just stuff like that. So I did make that mistake, which I know a lot of people make. My first one, the first one that I listed went very well. I went super basic on the furniture. I didn't really know, you know, I didn't really fully supply the house. It was just a basic Airbnb. But it still went really good. So, you know, it was kind of like my test run for the first one.
That's great. That's great. We're
Yeah.
going to hold on to that thought because we're going to come back later and compare what yours look like now compared to the first one. But talk to us about that second one. What were the mistakes, the oversights, and ultimately what was the risk and what happened from those?
Yeah, so the main issue that I had with it was just weirdest issue ever. I've never had to go through it since, but basically the toilet, when you would put pressure or sit on the toilet, the ground underneath the toilet would sink. So I was I was scared to like rent it out to people and get like lawsuits and stuff like that. So it took a couple of weeks for the landlord to actually, you know, to fix it after like going back and forth with him. And then ultimately it just wasn't a good spot. You know, it was an old property. I mean, I can go on for stories that happened with this property. Squirrels got in through the attic, running around inside the house. We were literally running around with nets trying to catch a squirrel. It was insane. But overall, it was just too much of a headache, and it wasn't worth it. So we did, you know, the landlord let us leave that deal early, so we left and just kept the one house.
You know, I want to touch on that as well, because a lot of people, they're afraid of the risk, right? Not just the overthinkers, but, you know, just anyone with good business acumen. They think, well, what if something happens? How did you end up getting out of that second one and pretty much saving yourself from the headache of that bad property?
Yeah, so how did it happen? So long ago now, kind of. So I remember the landlord was never nice to us. He was just not a nice person. He ended up selling the house to another landlord, and they're much nicer people. And we explained to them everything was going on. They kind of just let us leave. We were just honest with them. It was the last straw was the squirrels. Like we told her like, hey, like we just can't anymore. It's just too much. And they let us leave. They understood. And we just kept the one house. So we did, like I said, lose money because we had a whole bunch of furniture. We had to sell it for cheaper. We kept some, but yeah, we mostly got rid of everything.
Gotcha. Love it. So we got past the tester unit. We got past the first big disaster unit. So when about this, is this about the time you joined Sean's program, the mentorship program?
Yeah, so I remember I was actually talking to Alberto's, it was right when I was cleaning both of the units. I was doing all the cleaning myself at first. So I remember I scheduled a call with you guys, and I ended up getting into the class around the time. And yeah, so it was around, I would say maybe about 2 months into starting is when I actually joined the program.
Gotcha. And what's funny is because you already kind of figured out how to get properties. I can actually see you probably just got a reservation on your watch there.
Absolutely.
And so what was it for you that finally made you say, you know what, maybe I should enroll in some coaching? What was that for you? What was the reason for you?
So to be honest, at the time, April 2021, that was around the time that Dogecoin shot up crazy and I had some extra cash. So I was like, honestly,
70 cents, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in at like 7. So when it got up, I was really hyped. But ultimately, the reason why I decided to go in, because Sean already gives all this valuable advice. One thought in my head was like, what can he give me more? He's already given me all this content for free. And I mean, it was kind of even just a kind of a sign of appreciation that I just think that he deserved it regardless, just getting on the program, just after I absorbed all that information. And yeah, I just also wanted to take it up to the next level. That was after I saw the potential and all the profits I started getting bookings like hours after I did my first property, and that kind of made me realize, okay, this guy was being serious the whole time in all these videos, and it's kind of just a realization moment for me.
Yeah, there's something that's really incredible once you understand how to launch properties properly, especially those first 3 days with the pricing masterclass, what a difference it makes. But I think what really happened was you really started skyrocketing. Instead of picking one or two, you started doing a lot of bulk deals. And we saw you posting lots in the Facebook group. So tell us, what was it like starting off on your own before? And then how did your deals evolve after you were working with Sean?
Yeah, so I'm a knucklehead. I didn't like watch all of Sean's videos all at once, like all in the course. So I started watching it slowly, but I was watching kind of like as I needed it. As of right now, I've watched everything. But I will tell you about my my next deal that I got. It was a property in a nice location near ski slopes and everything like that. So I got this property. It maybe cost me $3,800 in furniture, and rent was $1,400. So after watching Sean's videos, just asking questions in the Facebook group, I decided to get this property because I knew I could furnish it for cheap, Facebook Marketplace, things like that. So I didn't necessarily use the furniture from Sean's class because I was just trying to get a cheap route here. And that property was like the biggest like breakthrough for me. Once I realized after the first property, because my third one, well, second technically, because I got rid of the second one. But so $3,800 in rent and furniture, $1,400, in rent. We actually grossed $8,000 in the first month, which is insane. I didn't think I would even profit in the first month. So I profited like $1,000 net after paying off furniture and everything. And yeah, that's when I started taking it seriously. From there, I ended up getting another property that put me at 3. And then from 3 is when I took the big leap and started getting, like buildings and apartments and things like that.
Yeah, and I think this is about the time where you started posting a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And so I think this is what everybody always wants. When we talk to a lot of people who've never heard of this, they always say, this is impossible. Why would a landlord ever give you free rent? It doesn't make sense to me. We hear that a lot. So how does that conversation go with you without getting too deep into it? Was there an aha moment, just like what you had with the grossing, that next level, $8,000 in gross? Was there an aha moment where you said, hey, wait a second, I'm doing them a favor. I'm going to ask for this free rent?
So yeah, once just so the next, after those 3 units, I actually took like a 6-unit property. So after, when I was taking that property and just seeing how much money had to be put in, we ended up not getting like exactly what we wanted, but we ended up getting like a few weeks of free rent. And yeah, it definitely made me realize our value that we're bringing. After you get 1, 2, 3 units, you kind of have more confidence in like, you bringing value to the table. So I just kind of use that as reasoning. And it was a very cool guy, very cool landlord. So he ended up giving us a few weeks of rent for free. And those were so it went from 3 to 9 at the end of 2021. So yeah, that's how I kind of negotiated that with the landlord.
One of the hardest parts we see is with intermediate hosts. We see that solopreneur solo hosts, they can usually manage 1 to 3 pretty easily. It's almost easy, you know what I mean? Especially when you have the right framework. But what we see when hosts get to about 5 is that magic number where what worked at 1 doesn't work at 5. I can only imagine what happened when you go from 3 to 9, tripling the portfolio. What kind of growing pains did you have?
Oh man, the first one was cleaning. Yeah, we were paying a lot more in cleaning than we should have been because we just couldn't get enough cleaners. I think at 3, I was still even doing some cleaning. So yeah, we were looking for cleaners. We ended up hiring some really expensive cleaners, but we fixed that issue. But so that was an issue. Laundry, linens, things like that. There were definitely some growing pains, but we quickly, adjusted. The cleaning just lasted because that's something obviously that needs to be done. But yeah, logistics. I was actually looking for a manager at that point too. So it was like my first time doing all this, looking for a manager, trying to like figure out how to train them and, what to train them even on, because, I'm handling 3, like you said, is not a lot of work at all. So there was kind of like, I kind of really didn't know like what I should be teaching the manager at this point. So that was one of the growing pains that I had.
Gotcha. And how integral was the help from the program into locking down the 6-pack there, and also kind of forming the systems around it?
So at this point, I had my pitch locked down. The pitch is very, very useful in the course. So I had my pitch locked down, and that helped me with those 6 units. As far as the free rent, honestly, I was so just happy to get those units that I just took the 2 weeks, like 2 weeks for free. I just took it. But yeah, it definitely helped me a lot with the staging process, the photos, just the listing, how to go through the listings and make sure your listing is done correctly. And the furniture, if I didn't say that, the furniture definitely helped, because, there are definitely some suggestions on what furniture to get. And I mean, along the way, I'm asking Sean in the Zoom groups and the Facebook groups. So it definitely helped me along the way getting those properties.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think one of the most important things that everyone wants to ask is, what is the difference in revenue between 3 and at 9?
Yeah, so let me think of the numbers. So at 3, wish I could just pull them up, but at 3, I think I was sitting. So I remember seeing like 12,000. That was the most I've seen with those 3 properties. But after I got the 3, slowly working up to those 9, as we're getting one ready at a time. I think the first month that I got those, started getting them ready, it bumped up from like the 10-ish grand to like 30. And as I'm getting them all ready, like the next month is like 40, the next month is like 50, 6, they're going up and up. So yeah, it went from about 10 to like, the first few months after getting those 6, went from like 10 to like 40 to 50. Yeah. If
Awesome.
I'm remembering correctly, it's just off of my head.
Yeah, it moves so fast, it's tough to remember all the numbers.
Yeah.
I think you just had your record month though, is that right?
Yeah, last month was the most we've ever done so far. So we definitely broke some records.
Amazing. And what was that like for you? What were the records that were broken?
So we made $70,000 last month gross revenue. It was it's actually insane, because I mean, just 2 months ago we were at like 50. So we just kind of went from that to 70. The hot season, the beautiful thing. So yeah, it was amazing just to kind of, in Sean's videos, he's like, "Oh, I'll see you on the other side." It's like, wow, I feel like I'm on the other side now.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you broke. It sounds like you broke your record for revenue, broke the record for properly profit. What other records that you care to share that you guys broke in July?
Say that again.
What other records did you guys break in the month of July?
So records that we broke, as far as revenue.
Anything whatsoever.
So
likely it could be.
Yeah, I would say revenue definitely. One of the key milestones that we also did was creating like in-house cleaning. So we actually had very little, which is also why it was my most profitable month. We had very little like because in-house cleaning we pay per hour, but we had very little companies coming, like how we did the very first month of coming in. So like we almost completely resolved that issue. So that was another key thing that we broke, with like just getting our housekeeping team together.
Amazing. So you did probably the most cleans ever done at the lowest cost as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was my most revenue and my least amount of cleaning fees for that month.
Amazing. It's funny because Sean's been touching lots about that on Instagram recently. So congratulations on really setting this straight. I think one of the cool things, because we skipped some of the timeline, is that you just did your record month 70 grand, but this is only 16 months into the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, we're 16 months in.
So I'd love to ask you, now that you're at, and how many properties you're at right now? It's 15, correct?
Yes, we're at 15 right now.
Okay, so to come full circle, what is the differences of how you set up your properties now, as opposed to that very first one where you said, we just went basic, cheap furniture, it wasn't anything lavish. What's the differences of how you put your product out now?
So now we go for a lot of, I didn't even have professional photos for my first property. I just did iPhone photos. So that's one, we got professional photos. We're doing staging. Before we didn't really stage. Now we're doing professional staging. I'll tell you the time difference it took us. So my first property, like I said, was like 2 to 3 weeks from when we signed the lease to like get it listed. And that was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. My most recent property that I got up and running, that one took us 36 hours to furnish and just get everything just listed. Like it was listed within the 36-hour mark. So that was obviously a huge difference. We saved a lot of money just on, not having to, just have that lag when you first get your property. So yeah, that was a huge milestone for us also getting our newest unit.
And how much rent are you negotiating for a free rent upfront on these newest properties?
So as of right now, I'm not getting any properties if I'm not getting free rent. But I've negotiated some properties that were a month for free. So I've, that's something I've gotten. But that's the most I've gotten so far. I'm still working on that part of getting more free rents. I'm doing some negotiating with landlords where I'm like analyzing these deals, kind of like practice trying to get free rent. I've gotten a lot of yeses, but properties I didn't take. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the free rent.
Got it.
Sure.
Got it.
Created those like security deposits, things like that. That's another thing that we're not paying anymore. So yeah.
So no more security deposits for you guys.
No more.
So that's saving, on 5 units, that's saving you thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Because right now, we maybe have like $20,000 to $40,000 just in security deposits, and it's insane. So I've taken that out. That's not even in my lingo anymore. We're not paying security.
Incredible. One of the things that a lot of our students, when they're kind of asking us about the systems, you go to all these other Airbnb gurus and they talk about systems, but really they're just throwing on software from day one. Whereas what we teach here is more procedures, right? How to operate your business well so that you can take a launch from 3 weeks to 36 hours.
Absolutely.
And the amount of profit you generate just off that is off the charts.
Absolutely. Yeah,
good on you.
Yeah, so I would say, the systems that Sean teaches is very good because he kind of just tells you what to do from day one. Like there's just sections, what you do when you're doing photos or things like that, furnishing. But I like the way Sean teaches because he will teach you everything you need to know, right? But then there are just some stuff that you can't always, like you can't teach systems for everyone's business, right? So he gives you what you need to know to kind of create systems that work for you, which is, why he's a great teacher for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
absolutely. So I got to ask, if you're okay with sharing this, if you're not comfortable, don't worry. But we got some questions in the chat room. And by the way, chat room, we're going to slowly get through all this. And I promise I'll get through as many of your questions as possible. 70K revenue, how much of that is net?
So surprisingly, we had a lot of net that month. Those are our most net. Like I said, we were at about 50, it was mid 50s, 52 to 55 was my estimated when I did my QuickBooks and stuff. So yeah, that's what we made last month.
Incredible. So 52 net in your pocket. That's somebody's salary. You did that in 1 month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. A 22-year-old founder. And when you say we, how many people are on the team currently?
So right now we have about maybe like 7 housekeepers. And then I have 1 manager currently. So yeah.
Awesome. So it's you, 1 manager, and then a whole bunch, and then your cleaning team.
Yes, exactly.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So what's the goals now? I'm sure you shattered some paradigms. Where have you set the bar for yourself now?
So right now I haven't set a bar yet, but my goal is to get to 30 units by the end of this year. My goal is also to so right now we're we have some negotiations going on. We may be kind of operating a whole hotel. And I'm trying to, I may be moving markets too. And I'm just, like I said, I'm looking for free rents. So, I'm in negotiations right now and I may get to that 30 unit mark sooner than I thought. So that's kind of my goal for at least the end of this year, to get to 30, and also to hire and train a few more people and get my business to get ready to be automated. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm working heavily on my systems just so I can have the training procedures going on.
That's great. That's great. At this stage in the game, what are the next positions that you think you're going to be hiring for?
So right now I have like a housekeeping manager to just manage all the housekeeping team. But so right now I'm looking to have a general just manager manage everything. And then I'm also trying to get like an assistant to pretty much help out with things and to like work on the days off, right? So that I can kind of be automated at this point, and so I could just focus on getting more leases, right? So yeah, those are the next like two positions I'm thinking about hiring. Definitely need a VA. Right now my girlfriend's helping me. She's a part of my team. With the
Amazing.
VA, she's been helping with the responding to guests and everything. So that she's been a big help with that. But yeah, that's going to be probably my next few hires. I think VA is next, and then have a whole general manager and then an assistant manager.
Awesome, awesome. Again, when we sometimes we talk about the overanalyzers, they're always asking us, well, what about all the different platforms? What about the websites, all that? Are you doing everything just off Airbnb right now?
Yeah, so I am just on Airbnb right now. I do have some direct bookings, so not too many to even mention, but yeah,
Mm.
pretty much everything on Airbnb. We are posted on like long-term rental sites like Furnish Finder, VRBO. We're actually posted on there, but we get no traffic from. I don't know what it is. We just get no bookings from there. We just get the scams, like scam inquiries.
Sure, 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 sure.
So
I think one of the cool things is, especially what Sean has started here, and it's that, especially when you're first starting off, don't make it complicated. Complicated never works. And that's why if you just master Airbnb, you can make a very successful business. I think you've proven that in spades here today.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, there's kind of nothing on Airbnb that I know, there's still some questions, but I know all the fundamentals of everything at this point.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to turn to some questions here at the chat. So you ready to answer a few from the crowd here?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. One of them had asked, John Crafton has asked, how did you finance when you first started the business? Where did the money come from to start?
So when I first started, I started slow, very slow. Like I said, the first few units was like off of Dogecoin gains, and then savings. But as I grew the business, my first 12 months, I believe I did like, was it like 80K or something like that? I don't even remember. But I pretty much reinvested everything, that every single piece of profit that I had, I just reinvested it into the business. So I literally didn't take any profit out of the business to myself. Like everything just went right back into the business. And that's how I ended up scaling like this. I didn't take any
Awesome.
profit or anything. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me, you started just like how everybody started. You saved a little bit of money up front, you dove in head first, and then you just reinvested every single penny, and then really just focus on the fundamentals until the right opportunity came, and then you hit that ball out of the park.
Exactly. Yeah. That's pretty much what I did.
I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, because they're so hyped up with Instagram and Facebook these days, there's been all these opportunities that have come before, right? We know of crypto, we know social media managers, Amazon drop shipping, all these promise fast riches. But the only one I've ever seen that actually has the infrastructure to move fast and scale fast is Airbnb.
Yeah.
So what I think a lot of people see is like, hey, 16 months to grow a business to 70K, that's off the charts.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it, if you just stick with it and stay focused, it actually didn't, there was no flukes. It was just doing the work and putting one step in front of the other. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, first starting out, there's just multiple days where I barely get to sleep. I get home, we'll leave the house 7 a.m., come back 10 p.m. There's a lot of things going on, so it's a lot of work, for sure. And, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't do the hard work, right? Even if you get Sean's course, for example, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get successful. So yeah, it's all about working hard, and and just getting familiar with everything. Also touch base on the how I funded the money. So I didn't use any loans at all. So there was 0 loans. I didn't mean have the credit cards pay after 30 days. But yeah, moving forward, I am going to start utilizing credit, because now that we've like established our business, we've gotten some good like credit limits. So we're going to start doing it, just because I know we're good at it now, right? I
Right.
probably wouldn't do it starting out. Like if I did, for example, I would have lost all my money on the first one because I messed up. But yeah, we're going to start taking loans. We haven't yet, but we're going to start.
That's incredible. That's incredible. We got a question here from John. He says, it seems hard to furnish and decorate these properties. Any tips? Can I outsource this?
Okay. So furnish and decorate. that's kind of, so I did a few properties with my girlfriend. She's done a lot of them. But I recommend some tips that I had for you. I recommend doing the walkthrough. When you do the walkthrough, take a video. Take measurements of just the whole house before you even know if you're getting the deal. That's what I do. And then, once you get the furniture, once you realize a theme, you got to get a theme. You have to realize what you want to do. And then I don't like to have any naked walls. I like greenery. So I like plants, pictures, and just stick with a color theme too. That's another important tip. Some things you can order first. You can order the sofa first, the mattresses, start the Wi-Fi, all that stuff you want to do first. But yeah, those are some tips about furnishing properties. He said, can I outsource this? So if you're not local, if I'm getting what your question is, if you're not local, then yeah, shipping to storage facilities is one, or going on Thumbtack and trying to find someone who can bring them in. I've never had that issue before, but yeah, those are some tips on that.
Yeah, and I can add to that as well, John. I think there's different services. I think Amazon, you can actually hire out interior designers, and all they need is your dimensions. They'll actually design it for you. There's another furniture company, I forget which one it is. I think Houzz, Houzz. I think they have services like that too. But you know what the ultimate hack is? It's simply, I just did this because we just launched our newest Airbnb, myself and my girlfriend, our first one. And it was fully furnished to begin with. But originally, I had lived there. We rented it fully furnished, ended up purchasing it from the landlord as a private sale. One of the rooms was my office, and I needed to get this thing up and going. I'm terrible at design. And all I did was I just went through the IKEA webpage and just cloned exactly one of their rooms.
Yeah.
And so what's good about that is you can do the whole budget because they show you every single item. And I just cloned the room exactly. So that's kind of my hack to get things done quick and fast with design.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. Pinterest is one I use. I use Pinterest all the time.
Pinterest is good, but damn, the designs are so nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I go to Pinterest too, but they're just for like pieces.
Yeah.
But I'm a knucklehead too, especially when it comes to design. So I just clone IKEA rooms.
Yeah, smart.
Eric is asking, can you share your Instagram name?
Yeah, my Instagram name is Fletch, FLETCH _BKS. I can also type that in.
Perfect.
And yeah, I just post my journey on there all the time, just daily stuff that, going through. So definitely follow me there, and you guys could see me.
I'll make sure I follow you too, so don't block me, bro.
Got you.
We have Nicole here who asked your net profit. We already answered that, but she said, for the cleaners, is that a separate business, or do you run it under each LLC?
I just run that under my one LLC. Maybe in the future I might do something like that, but yeah, I just run my cleaners under my one LLC.
Perfect. Great tax benefits.
Yeah. Exactly.
Edmund is asking, what would you say your average startup cost is?
My first 2 units, I spent $12K on both of those. I think my average has been about $6K. For a 2-bedroom, I should have specified. Yeah, for a 2-bedroom, my first 2 were both 2 bedrooms. I think one of them I spent like 65 on, and the other one was like 55. So rounded up to 12K. But right now for my luxury units, I spent about like maybe 65 on my luxury units for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So I would say around 65 is a safe number.
Got it. And is there a specific type of property that you're generally looking for now, where hey, that's a slam dunk? Obviously, we're keeping your neighborhood, what you know and love.
Yeah, so right now I do have smaller homes. I have 2 and 3s, 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. I'm looking for like 4 and 5 bedrooms. Those ones I do like around here. I like stuff that are close to like the attractions in the Poconos. Yeah. But overall, I like stuff that are next to ski slopes because they do well all year round. So yeah, all year round they do well. So that's what I'm looking for out here. I do have smaller units. Smaller units do well also. The 2 bedrooms do fantastic. So yeah, pretty much looking for bigger houses or stuff next to attractions.
Yeah, I myself, we went to a lot more of the bigger houses, the 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, and now we're trying to bring more of the 1 and 2 bedrooms. Like you said, they're easy to fill. They're
Yeah.
easy to fill, takes a lot less skill to get it going. Great place to start. Whereas the 4 and 5, you got to know your stuff to fill a 4 and 5 year round.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. But I mean, it's worth it because you get more money, but it's a lot of work.
Here's one that I think a lot of people are always wondering, but what's your strategy on choosing locations?
So my strategy on choosing locations. So I followed the market research that Sean teaches. But overall, my strategy on getting places, as of right now, at least, because let's be honest, short-term rentals, a lot of people are getting into them. So my strategy right now is looking for places that don't have a lot of big hosts already in them. And you know, I guess finding weaker hosts and being able to take over those markets and those areas. I mean, I'll be honest, there's a lot of that in my area that I'm in. So right now I am staying, I think we're like 90% occupancy the last few months.
Yeah.
And I see people posting all the time in the same area. Hey, I'm at like 60% occupied, and they're like cheering themselves on. And I'm like, wow, I mean, I give them, you know, let them celebrate. But it's about the pricing too. But yeah, how I choose my market is pretty much, you know, just looking at other properties and then looking at revenues, you know, I use different things like AIRBNB. I do my own kind of research on the properties in the area. So yeah, that's how I choose.
I think this is another great opportunity to mention why mid-markets are fantastic. I live in a mid-market too, and I'm from Canada. We don't have a Toronto, a Montreal, or Vancouver. I'm very much a mid-market, but that's the beauty of mid-markets. You don't have these major players everywhere that have 50 plus. You don't have these huge corporations that have 100 plus properties. And like you said, you're going to deal with these mid-market hosts who don't really take it all that seriously. They don't have professional photos. They don't understand dynamic pricing at all. And you can almost take over that entire market, especially when you're equipped with the right tools. It's almost unfair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very accurate.
We have a question here from Andrew. This one's really interesting. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. I have an investor who is willing to throw down on all my upcoming deals for a percentage of profit. Taking my own capital out of the equation, would you recommend doing this?
Percentage of profit. So basically, are you doing arbitrage? Are you buying? Is he basically offering to buy the furniture, or just do the whole arbitrage model? If you have an investor willing to do the whole arbitrage model in there, but taking a percentage of profit, I guess it would just depend on what percent of profit and how long the terms would last. I wouldn't personally I would have a length of time on that percentage that he's gonna take.
Agreed.
Because, you know, if you do really good, say for instance, you're you know, if he gives you $100,000, right, and then you can triple that to, you know, $300,000 or something like that, that's gonna take a lot of your growth away. So I would put a time limit on that. You know, I would definitely, like, if you was to do that, I'll put a time limit on that somehow.
I'll also add to that, Andrew, is that honestly, the one thing that with rental arbitrage, again, when you're successful, it moves really fast.
Yeah.
And typically, the one person you shouldn't bring on is a pure money partner. And that's because they don't add anything to the organization. You're doing 100% of the work, and they're making all the percentage points. So I really like what you said here, Josh, is put a time limit and then eventually repay their cash, because you're going to see the cash flow adds up so fast that you're going to not need that money partner very quickly. Usually by the third property, you don't have any money problems unless you're running it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a question here from Lashima, apologies for the pronunciation. Do you have to file income taxes with Airbnb?
I have a CPA. I do everything with my CPA. Airbnb asks you for your LLC information, but everything, all my expenses, income, I throw that all to my CPA.
Yeah, perfect. That's perfect for anyone who's even thinking about growing this substantially. Get a CPA as fast as possible. Yep. Each state has different taxes, and sometimes Airbnb will remit them. I can't remember which. They should do it from all, but you definitely want your CPA handle that for you.
Yeah.
We got a question here from Mahir. I have regulations in my city of Toronto, that it can only Airbnb 6 months out of the year. And it has to be a principal residence. Do you have similar restrictions? How would you suggest a person trying to scale, market switch?
So you can Airbnb 100, so 6 months. So you can only Airbnb 6 months out of the year, and it has to be where you live. So it has to be a multi-unit property. I would get up out of there. I mean, I would get in a different market. I just don't think that's, especially like, how are they counting those days? The 180 days. Do you want to live in a, I mean, you could live in an apartment building, right? If you live in an apartment building, you own it, maybe, right? So, but still, the 6 months is what's killing me. You can only make 50% of what you would normally make, and hopefully those 6 months are in the hot season, right? So I'll probably get to a different market. I would maybe even just going on the outskirts of Toronto in a different city. So that's close to Toronto, right? That's probably where, if you look in Toronto, that's probably where a lot more hosts are, probably on the outskirts of Toronto, because they don't want to deal with those regulations. So I would look on the outskirts of Toronto. I would start off with there.
Yeah, the GTA especially, you got a lot of cities that you can go to. You can check out Mississauga. You can check out even Kitchener. Kitchener-Waterloo is booming. They have the new Google, the new Amazon. That's where the Silicon Valley of Canada is. And it's only an hour and a half away from Toronto there. You also have cottage country. So I would definitely be looking up in cottage country as well. And I just know this because I've lived in Toronto. I know the Canadian market very, very well. As well, Maher, if it's that strict, you can do two things. Great opportunity for co-hosting. Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America. So if you really want to tap into that, really think about co-hosting, because you can still get around a lot of those regulations. If you want to take it even one step further, and once you're going, I would actually Airbnb it for 6 months and then turn it to a corporate rental for the next 6 months. That's going to give you all the upside of the travel season and then mitigate all the risk of the winter season, which we know in Toronto, there's some pretty cold winters down there.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very smart.
Okay, so let's see. Tyrell, thanks for sending everyone that YouTube title, so a lot of people can take a look. And let's see. I think we're looking pretty good on a few of these questions. A lot of them are coming in, so sorry guys, we're not going to be able to answer everyone because we're running out of time. So I'm just going to cherry pick a couple here. Here's a good one. We get asked this one a lot. From Seb S. Canseco. How did you get to talk directly with landlords, since most properties are listed by agents or property managers?
Yeah, so I am very frugal with how I get my landlords. Everyone uses Zillow and all those other websites. I use like either word of mouth. I'm from my area, so I actually like, hey, I seen like the building that I'm in right now, and I do Airbnb upstairs. So how I got this property, I'll tell you a quick story. I saw the building getting built. Okay, right, I live here, right? I saw someone posted on Instagram, and he was a realtor in the area. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, do you have any clue who the owner is, how I can get in contact with him? And I guess he didn't want to give me all this information. He told me what car he drives. So I don't suggest you guys do this, but I was a stalker driving around. I was looking for his car. One day, a friend of mine, we walked over to see the property just to see if he might have been there. We walked over here. We didn't see him. We asked the workers, they couldn't give us any information. So we were walking away, and then my friend turns around. He's like, hey, isn't that his car? I turned around. I was like, oh, yeah. So we ran up to him, and then we kind of pitched him. He took me through this whole building that I'm in right now when it was completely empty. So I pitched him really early. That's how I found him. But there's other ways, you can go about looking for rent signs. Those are usually owners. Craigslist, but it's sketchy on Craigslist. Don't pay security deposits unless you see the house. And I just wouldn't do that unless it was in person. You get the keys in your hand. But yeah, there's a lot of ways. I recommend, Zillow. Zillow has I think they have a filter that says for rent by owner, I think. But there's some ways to get around that.
Awesome. So what you're kind of saying is, in the beginning, look for more private sales.
Yeah.
Private owners, and try and get in there first.
Yeah,
I know we go over a lot of, sorry, go ahead.
You know, I think, yeah, Sean teaches how to do the property managers and agents, but it's just definitely more difficult because it's like a layer to get to the decision maker, right? So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
can screw your message and then send it to the owner, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, you got it. That's actually one of the key things that Sean really teaches in the advanced program is exactly how to deal with the entire process, how to get in touch with the owners, how to get around the gatekeepers, very high level stuff. Awesome. Well, listen, we're running out of time. So guys who are participating, thank you very much for throwing these questions in. Josh, how can we find you?
yeah, so you can find me, you can Instagram, I'm more active on there. I'm more active on the story, so you guys can follow my Instagram like I posted above. And yeah, if you guys have questions for me there, I'll be happy to answer. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, I want to thank Josh for coming on the show this week onto our new segment, our weekly show, where again, we're going to talk to hosts and we're going to get through the beginning. We're going to go through the strategies, the stories, the horror stories, the heights and the lows, the highs and the lows. Again, my name's Donnie Wong. You can also catch me at Taken Lunch Money. You can find me on Instagram. I'm a 5-year super host as well, and you guys can check our journey here as well. I'll type my name in here so if anyone wants to find me, y'all can follow me as well. Once again, guys, if you are looking to get started in Airbnb, or if you're looking to grow, scale, or automate your business, you know we got a ton of free content. But if you're really looking to accelerate your progress, accelerate your systems, and really get as this type of success, we do have a mentorship with Sean. If you guys are more interested in something like that, you can book a call with myself. Be happy to do a strategy call with you guys and really walk you through some of the fine tuning of your business. And if it fits, if you're a good fit to join Sean on his mentorship call, we can always talk about if that's a good option or not. Thanks a lot, guys. You'll be joining us here every single week. Josh, thank you for taking the time for checking us out. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Take care. Have a great week.
Thank you for having me.